Hey look, it's the first cartoon clip show of 2020, and we're not 5 months into the year yet. That's pretty cool. Wait, that's not just cool, that's way past cool. Sonic the Hedgehog, one of the most popular and iconic video game characters ever, with an immense fan base that's, let's just say, very passionate. I guess it's appropriate I'm reviewing a Sonic show after a Star Wars show, since, you know, both series have really weird fans. And Sonic has had quite a few adaptations over the years, possibly more than any other video game character. Years ago, I took a look at the quote-unquote animated movie, which was basically just two anime OVAs sewn together into one film, and one of the most pointless things I ever reviewed, since it didn't have much connection to anything else. But today I'm taking a look at Sonic the Hedgehog, better known as Sonic Sat AM, because it aired on Saturday mornings. It was produced by DiC Entertainment and ran on ABC for 2 seasons between September of 1993 and December of 1994, and is often considered to be one of the best adaptations of a video game. Though I think that distinction needs to come with an asterisk, because while characters like Sonic and Tails originated from the games, most of the other characters, as well as the plot, are actually based more off of the comics. In 1992, Archie Comics published Sonic's first comic series, which quickly gained immense popularity. Yeah, I was a bit of a fan of it myself when it first came out, though it has been a while since I've read any of it. But I do have quite a few of the issues, as well as many of the specials and even the mini-series some of the characters got. And look, I even have issue number 0. How about that? The plot was pretty straightforward. Sonic teams up with a group of forest dwellers called the Freedom Fighters to stop the evil Dr. Robotnik from taking over the world and turning all of the woodland creatures into robots. The story did get pretty dark at times, but it still managed to have plenty of lighthearted fun. And much of the comic went into making of not just Sonic Sat AM, but the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog as well. You know, the goofy comedy that aired around the same time as Sat AM. By the way, can we take a moment and appreciate that in the early 90s, Sonic the Hedgehog not only had a hit video game series, but a hit comic series, as well as 2 animated series that aired alongside each other? Wow. 92 and 93 basically belong to Sonic, huh? Oh, and just for the record, I'll probably never do a review of The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Mostly because I really don't have much to say about it other than it's weird and nonsensical. Also, I don't think there's anything I can do to it that the internet hasn't already done to it, but there's still plenty I can do to Sat AM if it doesn't live up to its reputation. So let's check it out, and we're gonna start with the most iconic part of the show, the theme song.
Blue streak speeds by. Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. He's the fastest thing alive. He's the fastest thing alive.
I can't play more of the song, cause my video will get acclaim, cause YouTube freaking sucks! Why do you hate fun, Susan? So just like in the comics, the plot is about Sonic teaming up with the Freedom Fighters to fight Dr. Robotnik, who tries to take over the planet and turn all the living creatures into mindless robots. I think everybody should know who Sonic is by now. The blue hedgehog with attitude that can run super fast and really loves chili dogs.
Are you really gonna eat all 12 of those chili dogs?
Yeah, but those are just snacks. I'll do some serious eating later.
2 doggies with the works, pal.
You got it, bud!
Am I the only one concerned that pigs are serving chili dogs? Also, in a world of sentient animals, where exactly is that meat coming from? Sonic is voiced by Jaleel White, better known as Steve Urkel from the TV show Family Matters.
Listen up, Robutsky. The old evil eye here is pretty cool, but it'll never catch the hedgehog.
He also provides the voice of Sonic in The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, as well as the other weird show Sonic Underground. He even came back to voice Sonic in the 2013 fan film.
Way past cool, huh?
Has he done anything else? Like, is he known for any other roles besides Urkel and Sonic? I mean, surely he's had to have done other stuff. Let me check IMDb real quick. Oh, hey, he was on Scooby-Doo as Urkel.
Name's Stephen Quincy Urkel, but you can call me Urkel, or Urkelino, the Urkmeister, or the Urkel-Doodle-Doo, or my personal favorite, her Urkelese. Get it?
Has this just been his whole career? Jeez. Talk about being typecasted. With him is his little buddy Tails, though he really wasn't seen that much in the show. Also, it's weird going back like this and not seeing Tails as the mechanical genius we're all used to him being now. But I guess this is a much younger version. Thankfully, he's not just an annoying kid character, and it was very easy to take a liking to him, especially since they imply that he's an orphan.
Baby Q was my friend.
He wouldn't like living with us, big guy. He'd miss his mom.
I miss my mom, too.
The leader of the Freedom Fighters is Princess Sally, voiced by Kat Sose.
Do you know what these maps do? They give us access to all of Robotropolis.
Her family once ruled over the land Robotnik made into his territory, and now she and the others are trying to take it back. She's the one that comes up with all the Freedom Fighters' strategies and is able to hack into Robotnik's system with the help of her portable AI, Nicole.
Nicole. Ready, Sally. Access main database.
The other Freedom Fighters include Rotor, who makes all of the fighters' machines and gadgets. But for some reason in Season 2, he wasn't seen as much, and he even got a bit of a redesign. I don't really like it. He looks like he's half asleep or mildly annoyed. Well, I guess when you're the team's only tech guy, either would be accurate. One of the most awesome characters in the show is Bunny Rabbit, voiced by the great, but unfortunately late Christine Cavanaugh.
Oh, way! I feel like I've been dragged through a knothole, so to speak.
As her name implies, she's part bunny and part machine. It's never explained in the show how she got like this, but it was in the comics. She was an ordinary bunny who got captured and was about to be roboticized, but she got pulled out of the machine before the process was complete, leaving her with a metal arm and metal legs. Fortunately, her new appendages give her super strength and can do a number of other things, so she joins the Freedom Fighters to fight Robotnik and hopefully find a way to change her back to normal. Finally, there's Antoine, voiced by Rob Paulson.
Are you all right? You're trembling.
Not trembling, my princess. Shivering. Oh, yes, I must have catched them. You say, achoo! A terrible cold.
Antoine is the comic relief, but I'll give Rob Paulson credit. He's clearly giving it his all here.
Princess! Run, princess, run! This terrible place is not so good for our health. I am thinking this is so. We go home, yes?
Ah, look. He's a coward. You get it? It's because he's French. Boy, you remember when that was a stereotype? He's also constantly using the wrong words when he speaks.
The love of my life is crazy for a fuel.
A fuel?
Yes, a fuel, a fuel.
Oh, you mean a fool.
This is what I said, a fuel.
Oh, come on. Even people that struggle with English don't get it that wrong.
A royal guard is never taking anything for granted.
And on top of that, he has the hots for Princess Sally.
Not to be worried, my princess. I am at your service. Hello. It was just a clever way to get in your arms, my princess.
God, he's like Pepe Le Pew minus the charm.
A pitiful case, am I not?
Fun fact, in the comics, he ends up with Bunny, and they even get married. Man, she could have done so much better. So that's pretty much the main Freedom Fighters. There were a few others seen throughout the series. Some were recurring, some were only seen once. But in Season 2, they added a new main character, Dulcie the Dragon, who's part kangaroo, I think. Interesting combination. Dulcie is another comic relief character that even people who really love the show don't like. Because unlike Antoine, who's just kind of campy and over the top, Dulcie is kind of a clumsy goofball.
What's that? Ooh, hello, Ma. I'm home.
Aw, and she's voiced by Cree Summer? I don't want to hate a character voiced by Cree Summer. Ugh. How dare you, Sonic Sat AM? I think the problem with her is that she just kind of comes out of nowhere with no explanation, and we're just supposed to accept her. On top of that, she doesn't really add much to the show other than establishing, well, dragons exist in this world. Well, I guess having dragons as allies is always a good thing. And the Freedom Fighters are going to need all the help they can get against Robotnik, voiced by the great Jim Cummings, who really brings it to this role.
Consider yourself terminated, Hedgehog. What is this? Snively? Recall them!
Hurry home, little hedgehog. Hurry home.
That conviction, that villainous tone. Jim really owned this character, and in my opinion, this is one of his most underrated performances. I love those audible inhales he takes before delivering the lines. It really enhances his intensity.
I have machines of all kinds. Marvelous machines. They can do things you would not believe.
With him is his nephew Snively, voiced by Charlie Adler.
The system's overloading, sir. I'd better turn off the... The video is gone, sir.
Snively is Robotnik's assistant, but is often berated and dreams of being in charge one day. But Robotnik is not about to give up his place so easily.
Decisions. Oh, good evening, sir.
Robotnik's army consists of various robot soldiers. Some were residents of the former kingdom who have been turned into mindless slaves. But his main forces are the SWAT bots. Though most of the time they seem pretty useless and even incompetent.
Alert, alert. Organic life form detected. Don't bother. Substation electricity interferes with heat sensor. Ignore.
We don't have time to investigate potential security breaches. We're too busy putting up all of those no fun signs.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
One thing that I really like about this show is that it gets right to the point. Robotnik is pretty much won, leaving what was formerly a prosperous kingdom a gritty, polluted techno wasteland. At first, we're not even told how it happened, but we learn about it little by little as the series goes on. This makes the good guys the underdogs, which always makes a story more interesting. It portrays the characters as more relatable and sympathetic. It even makes things feel very unsettling because their hideout knothole may seem like a nice peaceful place, but a real danger is only a few miles away. They do establish a few other groups that fight off the robots as best they can with whatever they can scavenge up. It's a pretty bleak world to depict in a kids show, especially when there aren't many victories for the Freedom Fighters, even with the help of Sonic. This was early in the character's life, so he's not as broken as he is today. So he's fast enough to get away from stuff, but not fast enough to, say, escape a black hole by breaking through the fabric of reality. Though he can get a speed boost from a power ring. Yeah, you know those hundreds of rings you collect in the games? Here, only one of them is enough to supercharge Sonic. I feel like this might have been a mistake. Shouldn't that be a Chaos Emerald or something? The rings occasionally rise up out of a pond, and it's revealed they come from some kind of gem or crystal. Is that a Chaos Emerald? They never really explain. They even play to a lot of Sonic's insecurities, like his fear of not being able to save everyone, which haunted his nightmares in one episode. But he still maintains that attitude we all love.
Hey, Sal, don't you call me a fool, 'cause baby, you know that I'm way past cool. Way past cool!
Yeah, radical, chili dogs, 90s, woo!
Way past cool, huh? How do you like the entrance? You know, the way I come flying in, hit the old Axl Rose pose right on the downbeat.
Sally won't like it. It's too hard rock. It's gotta be softer.
Okay, I guess we should talk about that. So yeah, Sonic and Sally are a thing. Not even ambiguous, like they get real lovey-dovey a few times.
Kiss wasn't that great.
Oh, really? I suppose you can do better?
Is grass green? Is water wet?
Not that I'm against it or anything. They have good chemistry, they work well together, and I guess it's nice to see a girl liking Sonic that he actually likes back, Amy. I'm only bringing this up because a lot of people point to this show as one of the starting points of Sonic's weird fandom, and I can kind of see why. I mean, consider the target audience who tuned in to see their favorite video game character and not only get more attached to him because of the show's setting, but seeing him with a girlfriend as well. Yeah, it'd be easy to see a kid latch onto that and carry it all the way into adulthood. A good show knows how to hook an audience, one way or another. So the first episode is actually the show's pilot, and as expected, it's a bit different from the rest of the series. Honestly, I think you can skip it. Just move ahead to episode 2 titled Sonic Boom! Oh god, the series predicted its own descent into mediocrity! Anyway, most of Season 1 consisted of standalone episodes with little connecting them other than the overall plot, so you can pretty much watch them in any order. There's an episode where Antoine tries to capture Robotnik himself, and it goes about as well as you'd expect.
And what will you do with me?
I bring you to the Freedom Fighter.
A nice dream, but dreams are meant to be broken.
One episode I really like had Rotor not thinking he was as much of a hero as the others.
Who cares about some nerdy handyman? I'd rather be a superhero like you. Now that's cool.
Yeah, because being the team's tech guy is not important at all. In a lesser show, they would have given him some kind of power and have him learn that being a hero isn't all it's cracked up to be, or something like that. But instead, they just gave him the spotlight and he saved the others. Like a hero. That's smart writing. There's another episode where they discover an ancient evil wizard and Robotnik wants to steal his powers. But when he awakens, he says that he regrets the evil that he's done and actually helps Sonic stop Robotnik. This episode establishes in this world technology works alongside magic. I really dig stuff like this in fiction. I think it also helps explain how the roboticization process works. I'm guessing it's some sort of transmutation, especially since it's reversible. Or at least they try to reverse it.
What the hoo-ha happened? Oh, my look. Oh.
You know, Bunny, I understand you want your body back, but can we maybe beat Robotnik first? Because you're kind of awesome like this. Speaking of which, in Season 1, we meet Chuck, Sonic's uncle, who was turned into a robot. They managed to get back his memories, but it didn't last very long and it was pretty alarming and tragic.
It's too late, Sonny.
Uncle Chuck? Uncle Chuck! Uncle Chuck!
Sonic, we have to leave him!
In Season 2, he gains his memories back, but this time it's permanent, and he acts as a spy for the Freedom Fighters. Speaking of Season 2, it was a bit more structured than Season 1, with more recurring characters and overarching plot points. Though for some reason they had a bunch of short filler episodes, usually starring Antoine. Yeah, needless to say, you can skip these. Also, Robotnik was dialed back a bit, and kind of fell into a lot of the typical villain tropes, like having the hero right where he wants him, but instead of finishing him off, he just toys with him instead, like trapping him in a convoluted pinball trap. Clearly this was a reference to Sonic Spinball. The writers obviously knew which Sonic game was the best. I'm not being sarcastic here or anything, this is seriously my favorite Sonic game. In this episode, they establish this place called the Void, a mysterious parallel dimension that's seemingly inescapable. In another episode, they actually go in and they find Naugus, who's another powerful wizard. He was trapped there by his former associate Robotnik, and now he wants revenge. But Robotnik fears him more than anything else, and that really says something about your show when you have a character that makes the main bad guy afraid. The best part of Season 2, in my opinion, was Blast to the Past, a two-parter where Sonic and Sally travel back to the day Robotnik took over and try to change history. Here we get some insight as to what happened, and we even see Sally's father and former king. He's voiced by Tim Curry in one of the rare times he isn't voicing a villain.
Tonight, I will announce the closing of the War Ministry, then your appointment as Minister of Science. You will attend, Julian.
Sadly, they weren't successful, and despite their efforts, Robotnik still took over, and the future refused to change. On top of that, they really mess up because their younger selves get captured and almost get roboticized.
If they're roboticized,
then we'll be robots too.
Worse, we won't exist.
Though even if they had succeeded, they still wouldn't exist because the timeline they came from would have never happened. But if they didn't exist, then how would they have gone back to the past to set the timeline right? But then no one would be in the present to go back to the past to Ugh. Oh, I hate time travel. One thing I don't like is that they establish all the freedom fighters apparently grew up together. I feel like that was a detail they didn't need to include. This is dangerously close to Star Wars prequel territory. Speaking of which, reviewing this after a Star Wars show was even more appropriate than I thought. Both series are about rebels led by a princess looking to take down a tyrannical leader. It has a mix of science fiction and mysticism, and there's even a few shots lifted directly from the original films.
Bingo! Whoa, that sucker's hot! Ooh-wee! Yes!
Boy, I can't wait to find out that that thing wasn't destroyed and is the grandfather of some rando character that apparently is going to save everybody. Hey, speaking of disappointing endings, let's talk about the final episode. One of the most infamous things about this show is how it ended. After a big battle, Robotnik and Snively bail, and the freedom fighters celebrate thinking they've won. But Snively quickly comes back, and this happens.
Now, it's my turn. And I'm not alone!
That was the final shot of the series before it got cancelled. And for years, fans had been wondering who that was gonna be. Was it Knuckles? Was it Metal Sonic? Nope. Do you want to know who that was gonna be? It was gonna be Naugus. Yup, he eventually escapes the void and was gonna team up with Snively to go after Robotnik, and I guess act as some sort of third faction in this conflict. Though you can hardly tell since those eyes don't really look like his, and more closely resemble one of the regular Sonic characters. But this was confirmed years later by writer Ben Hurst, as well as other plans for the third season. They were going to introduce more characters, which included Knuckles. Tails was going to mature a bit and even have a bigger role in the series, and there was even going to be established backstory for Sally's AI Nicole, and from what I've heard about it, it was pretty messed up. There was even plans for a tie-in game that featured characters from the show, but it got scrapped. Though they did make brief appearances in the bonus levels of Sonic Spinball. Things were going pretty well for the series, and they apparently were so confident that they would get a third season that they left off on a cliffhanger, but sadly, the show got cancelled. And there's one thing to blame for it. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. In the 90s, Power Rangers was one of the biggest things ever. Every kid was talking about it, and the merchandise was flying out the door. It set a standard that other networks tried to emulate. Sonic SatAM even directly competed with the show in the same time slot. That's pretty bold, but in the end, even a well-known IP like Sonic the Hedgehog just couldn't keep up. You know, I've talked about some decent 90s shows before that seem to have gotten cancelled prematurely. I'm guessing putting out a show in the 90s must have been really difficult, with stiff competition like Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles. It makes you wonder how many ambitious projects got snuffed out just because they couldn't live up to the hype. It's kind of sad when you think about it. Now, the good news is, while the show ended prematurely, the Archie comics continued on until 2016, right before IDW picked up the license. So at least the Freedom Fighters got to go on many more adventures and kept fighting the good fight, even if it was in printed form. As for the show, I'd say it's earned the reputation it's gotten, and I think it still holds up. Maybe not so much visually, though. This was a Deke show, after all. They weren't really known for having the best animation. Oh my god, Antoine, what happened to your face? But it's still well written, has great voice acting, memorable and likable characters, and even had an environmental message behind it without being too overbearing. That alone is worth the price of admission. If you can track it down, it's absolutely worth a watch. Good work, Sonic. Way past cool indeed. Well, that's Sonic Sat AM, and coming up next, I've got another Patreon-sponsored review. Ooh, I wonder what it could be. Well, tune in next time and find out.
Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive. He's the fastest thing alive.
A royal guard is never taking anything for granted.
It's granted with a D. Take things for granted. Did you actually think it was? What are you, a boulder rock person?